Up until the early 1800s, the market for consumer goods in the US was largely local and regional, and it was also based on generic goods that weren't really associated with any particular brand name. Advertising in the mid-1800s led to a profound shift in this market for consumer goods and how Americans would buy products, and that this shift really lasted until, or lasts until, the present day. What advertising started to do in the early and mid 1800s was to develop a particular reputation for a particular brand name product. And the attempt was to differentiate one product of one company from other products in that same product category. For instance, at that time, and I actually guess you could, say that this is the case today. If you're looking at soap, all right, more or less, all soap is pretty similar. It at that point had pretty much the same ingredients, and there wasn't really, any significant difference between one brand of soap and another. What advertising tried to do in the mid-1800s was to try to convince people that there was indeed a very significant difference between one brand of soap and another, and that the advertised company's brand was the most superior. And also there was an attempt to associate one particular brand with certain desirable traits. So, for instance, one brand of cereal might be associated with wholesome families, or another brand of flour might be associated with goodness and moral values of some sort. All right. This advertising was significant in terms of creating these brand names, and also in the public's mind, suggesting that there really were significant differences among the different brands for consumer products. And now this process of brand name advertising was great for companies, because then it allowed companies to charge higher prices for products in their product category, because people would then buy that product at that higher price. All right, so that if Ivory soap, after establishing a really clear brand name identity, let's say Ivory soap wanted to jack up the price of its soap, all right, people would continue to pay that higher price because they had been socialized and persuaded by advertising to believe that there's something unique and preferable about Ivory soap that distinguishes it over its competitors. In contrast, without brand names and brand name advertising, people would just, try and buy the product with the lowest price. But now, brand name advertising, again, was effective in terms of encouraging and allowing companies to increase their prices for products, and also increase their profits. Unfortunately, another trend in advertising that started in the mid-1800s and lasts to the current day is the problem of deception in advertising. And this was a really big problem in the 1800s, when you had the emergence of all of these consumer products that were supposedly patent medicines, all right? The market at that time in the U.S. was flooded with all of these medicines that that promised these miracle cures. But essentially, the vast majority of these medicines were really marketed by quacks, and the medicines themselves were really questionable. That the ads for these patent medicines would say that the medicines would make people feel better. But well, sure, these medicines certainly did that because they were mostly composed of alcohol. All right, so people would consume these medicines and get pretty drunk. All right, so there were a lot of complaints about advertising for patent medicines that made all of these outrageous claims about the success and effectiveness of the medicines, and played a major role in hooking people on various kinds of substance abuse because there were a lot of questionable substances in the medicines. So there was a lot of public outrage about how these patent medicine ads were really deceptive and fraudulent, that they just flat out told lies about the effectiveness of the medicine. Now, as a result of this outcry and controversy about patent medicines, there were some responses. Right, advertisers themselves tried to agree to certain kinds of self-regulation. Right, so the advertising industry in the late 1800s developed some industry codes for agreeing to abide by certain rules and guidelines for advertising, right? To not advertise these really bogus products. Now, the U.S. government also took an active role in response to this controversy about these patent medicines. The U.S. government passed the Federal Food and Drug Act, in part because of all of the outrageous claims made by these patent medicines. And this act regulated the production and distribution of these patent medicines, and also the way in which they were advertised. Now, I guess one reason I want to talk about this is not just because it's a history lesson, but it's also, I think, important to think about how these issues are still with us today. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I turn on late night TV, there is a lot of questionable stuff there. Late night TV ads for miracle weight loss cures. You take this one pill and the pounds melt off, right? I think there are still questions today about to what extent there are deceptive claims made by products and supposed health aids on television and other media that may dupe unsuspecting viewers and audiences. And I think there's still a question about how do we best address those concerns, and what is the appropriate role of government to protect people from these kinds of exploitative practices.